Hello, this is David McMahon. Welcome to my webinar. Thank you for attending. This webinar is on best practices in retail. I'm going to give several field-proven techniques that the best companies use to produce exceptional profit. Just some background on me. I have been working as a consultant and performance group director for the past 16 years. I've traveled the globe helping businesses improve themselves. I've literally worked with thousands of business people in all aspects of their operations, from digital marketing to sales to warehousing through to accounting and analysis. In doing so, I have been exposed to the best of the best and the worst of the worst and everything in between. This webinar is about what the best businesses are doing now, day in, day out, to beat their competition. The first most common question that I get from clients in the field is, what are you seeing out there? Business people want to know, how are other businesses performing in today's economy? Are sales up? Are consumers buying? What are businesses doing to keep growing? Okay, this is what I've seen in the last 6 months. In general, sales numbers have been on the rise over previous years. The Great Recession put many businesses out of business a few years ago. Those that managed to survive and not take on significant debt are now in the position to capture more and more market share in their area. There's been some weak spots in the parts of the Northeast in the first part of 2014 due to uncontrollable weather-related factors. But all in all, businesses are putting out decent numbers from what I could see. Many are now even reaching record levels. I will say, however, economies are localized. Great businesses, from my experience, always do well in whatever economy they are operating in. For example, the most profitable businesses that I have worked with continue to be the most profitable businesses. My advice to you is to focus on top-line growth, bottom-line growth, and asset efficiency. That will help you weather any storm and live in any economy. During this webinar, think about what practice you would like to implement that would have the biggest impact on your business and be the easiest to implement. At the end of the webinar, I have a special offer for you that can help you decide on the best area to improve in your business. And then finally, I will take some questions. You can type them in to the question bar in your meeting control center as you think of them, and then at the end, I will take as many as I can, time permitting. Okay, the first practice that I see the best businesses out there doing is that they have a family team that performs better than their competition. Of the 90 people that are on this webinar today, I bet that 90% are either in business with a family member or part of a business that is run by family members. This is just the nature of independent business worldwide. In fact, many hugely successful corporations like IKEA are family-born furniture operations. What I have seen is that the ability of the family management team to perform and lead is often the primary factor of success. Being truly professional are the operative words here. In this, I mean that they are treated as professionals, act like professionals, are measured like professionals, and are paid like professionals. Here is one example. Suppose a business has a family member as a CFO. The family CFO should possess the understanding and credentials of a hired CFO that was not a family member. Or, for example, a sales manager that is a family member in a best practice company would perform as good or better than a hired sales manager. They, in fact, would be able to get a job independently in their management role. Those family businesses that communicate well together and with their employees definitely have a leg up on their sometimes dysfunctional competitors. Their secret: education, performance, consistent improvement in their roles, and respect. The next practice that the best retailers subscribe to is they have a chain of operations that functions like a well-oiled machine. The chain of operations is a set of job functions and procedures. It extends from marketing through to accounting. It involves all departments in an organization, such as sales, purchasing, inventory management, warehousing, distribution, merchandising, service, and office support. The best retailers out there realize that business processes are directly linked together in a chain. If there is a weak link or a break in that chain, the entire business suffers. For example, if purchase orders are not being filed with the vendors properly or timely, freight will arrive incorrectly a certain amount of times. Ultimately, the customer experience suffers. Extra work would be created in terms of warehousing, customer service, accounting, and salesperson distraction. The best retailers seek to continually improve their chain of operations through management, training, and the use of the best technology like barcoding. The best retailers constantly are looking for bottlenecks of work and ways to improve the throughput of the chain of operations. This results in a well-oiled machine and a faster turn of inventory, a more satisfied customer experience, less service issues, and ultimately greater sales and higher profits. Let's talk about the front end. The best retailers out there track traffic. Traffic is people. Traffic is leads. Traffic is potential sales. In my opinion, knowing traffic is business 101. everything comes from customer traffic. There are no sales, profit, cash, or employees without it. So that said, do you think it is important to really know your traffic numbers? I'm not going to answer that. This is what you want to learn from knowing your selling opportunities. Since it is the first part of the sales equation, it helps you determine why sales are either up, down, or flat. The sales equation, by the way, is traffic opportunities multiplied by close rate multiplied by average sales size. Also, to know your close rate, traffic is required. To figure your correct staffing levels and times of staffing, traffic numbers are required. Having the proper number of good salespeople for the amount of leads you get is the #1 way to maximize your sales. To figure the impact of marketing campaigns, traffic numbers are required. As a performance management tool, traffic numbers help rate the effectiveness of a store and a sales and marketing team. It should be tracked for both your physical stores and your online presence. There are various counting systems out there of differing technologies that help determine door swings, and those of you on Profit Systems Retail Vantage have a powerful opportunity recording system that will also deliver the traffic data. Online is even easier. With website tracking through tools like Google Analytics, there's Facebook tracking through likes, email marketing through open rates. I also should mention that we have various approaches to counting traffic. You can contact me if you wish to discuss more about this or anything that I mentioned during today's webinar. To continue best practices in the front end, all good businesses use CRM. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. I pulled this definition from Wikipedia. CRM is a model for managing a company's interactions with current and future customers. It involves using technology to organize, automate, and synchronize sales, marketing, customer service, and technical support. Those that don't use CRM have no model. No model means no systems. No systems means chaotic management. And this means lower sales volume. Alternatively, the best retailers use CRM systems as a catalyst to grow their top line through sales management by the numbers. It is a tool when implemented and used properly, and it produces massive results. Guess what? All of you using Profit Systems software on this call today have a great CRM system. Some aspects of CRM that should be used are goals, opportunities, traffic as mentioned, task management, follow-up and follow-up management, sales metrics like average sale, close rate, number of ups, notes, lead generation, e-marketing, targeted follow-up, and communication management. And there's a variety of management tools that will be available to you with CRM. The keys for producing CRM results are education, training, management, and commitments at all levels of your organization. I mentioned at the start of the webinar that I'm a performance group director. About 2 years ago, we took 20 retail clients in 2 of our performance groups to an advertising camp in the Texas Hill Country outside Austin. We visited the campus of Roy Williams, also known as the Wizard of Ads. The most memorable quote amongst many that he told us was that advertising is a tax. Businesses pay on being unremarkable. And this is from an advertising guy who makes a living off of paying people for advertising advice. You know, I could not agree more with this statement. I have seen the best operators maximize their return on advertising by becoming more remarkable businesses. As they become better, especially in their customers' minds, they have to spend less on advertising to produce similar results. This is because they have built a following through providing better products and services than their competition. Here's one example from a client that has year in, year out produced a 15% plus bottom line net income. They barely advertise at all, about 1 to 2% of sales. So how do they grow their business without advertising, you may ask? Well, they follow up. And then they follow up. And then they follow up. You get it. After all sales, they call their customers to check on them. I suggest you try this. Set a period of every 3, 6, 12, and 18 months as follow-up time. You can control this by using the CRM system with profit through tasks and follow-up management. Great things happen when you talk with and not sell to people. Okay, here are some other ways businesses improve their advertising return on investment. They budget on a fixed basis of prior year sales to form their current year ad budget. So, for example, if last year they spent 5% of sales on advertising, they will spend that same dollar amount this year. When sales go up, advertising as an expense goes down. One trend that I've been seeing with media is that the best people out there who are masters at advertising really are focusing more on one media. They don't get too spread out. And they don't only seek to dominate that media. They seek to own that media. Shift happens, right? That's S-H-I-F-T. There are continuing shifts in media. One is from sale to non-ad speak. Having a conversation with the customer and entertaining them is what is working now. The shift also continues to digital media channels in the form of e-marketing, web, mobile, Google Pictures, YouTube, Yelp, Facebook. By the way, If any of you are not on our integrated email marketing system or not utilizing it to the fullest potential, contact me. We can discuss that. Continue to seek to become and be remarkable. Improve your word-of-mouth advertising in your local community. The best advertising is usually free. One of the biggest areas that I've seen retailers improve in the last 16 years is in the area of gross margin and inventory cost control. The best businesses are using a science and an art approach to maximizing gross margin. If you play the price game, you need to do a lot of volume and be very lean. For most retailers under $50 million in annual sales, that approach just does not work so well. With average operating costs running between 38 and 45% of sales, a retailer must produce decent margin to have anything left over to add to cash flow. The 16-year trend in the industry has ranged from 39% gross margin to now most stores running between 45 and 47% margins on their financial statements. So that's after all markdowns. Most businesses in our performance groups have risen to 50%, with some getting 55% and above. And guess what? Those with 55%, they want to get more because that's the way they work. And this is all happening with increasing sales volume. They subscribe to the notion that margins are a state of mind. The strategy to maximize margin contains a science perspective that is analytical. That, in my opinion, is either cost up or MSRP down. And then there is an art perspective that considers price points and pushes the envelope of best-selling items that produce the lion's share of business. Consider this. Do you think the consumer who continually pays for a living room set at $750 would stop paying for it at $1,850 or $1,950 or $1,999? Well, I say they will not. In fact, here's my challenge to you. When utilizing profit system software correctly, it's really a gross margin improvement system. I have used it to increase the margin of many retailers almost overnight. I bet we can almost instantly get you at least a 2% extra bottom line that you currently don't have. At $5 million, that would be worth an extra $100,000 per year. Going hand in hand with gross margin maximization is GMROI. The best retailers are masters of it. GMROI means the gross margin dollars that you produce on your inventory. In other words, how much money do you make from your investment in assets that you sell? That's GMROI. So who's the most successful home furnishings operation in the U.S. in the last 16 years? Well, if you said Ashley, I would agree with you. Wayne and I have helped implement the operating practices in the first Ashley stores many years ago. We still work with several home stores today. It's no secret that part of their magic success formula is GMROI. They believe in holding a lean inventory and not compromising gross margin. they believe in turn and burn. When something sells, get in it and out of it as soon as possible. In other words, get it in for the customer and get it out on delivery ASAP. Keep it on the floor, nailed down. When something does not sell, get out of it to try a new item faster that may become a bestseller. You should know and continually track the GMROI on your stores, your vendors, your categories, your vendors within categories, and your items. Even the smallest store needs to use a proper management system to help the buyer get this data. It's all contained within Retail Vantage. If you're not using it, seek to learn how to use it. An analytical buyer can outperform a buyer without solid data every time. I guarantee it. My advice, find your areas of strength and build them. Find your areas of weakness and extract them. Find your average areas and elevate them. Continuing with inventory management, best practice, retailers leverage 80-20 thinking. This simply says that the minority of inputs produce the majority of results. In this example, the minority of items produce the majority of gross margin dollars. These are the best sellers. That is why it is so critical to focus on these items. The same rule goes for vendors. Chances are the minority of vendors produce the majority of results. And salespeople. The minority of salespeople produce the majority, most sales. And with customers, the minority account for the highest percent of your business. It is important for all organizations to realize this and provide the necessary resources and focus to help the winners keep producing. At the core of Profit Systems software and consulting is the 5 SMART steps. Our most successful clients use these steps continually to propel their businesses forward. Oftentimes, I conduct full weeks of consulting on this alone, but I thought that in a best practice webinar, I should at least summarize their importance. SMART steps is an acronym. Here's how it goes. S, spot your best sellers. As I mentioned, the best-selling items account for the majority of your revenue. You need to know these items, so spot the best items, vendors, categories, salespeople, price points. Very important. Once you know your best sellers, maintain them. Okay? When you find a best-selling item, for instance, you need to make sure it's nailed down. What would happen if you sold it off the floor? Well, you all know that you're going to lose a certain number of sales off of it until that item arrives again, if ever. So maintaining it is nailed down. It's also checking the rate of sale, okay, and rebuying it appropriately for that rate of sale and lead time, okay. You want to have a lean inventory, just-in-time inventory system to maximize your gross margin, and you want to seek the highest possible bestseller in stock days. A, auto-identify old merchandise. As well as focusing on the best items, it's important to focus on what doesn't work, okay? Best items and dog items, they all come from new items, okay? So in order to find a best item, you have to try a new item. However, if you don't sell a dog, you become over-inventory. If you can sell your dogs faster through auto-identifying them quicker and either marking them down or stiffing them, or I don't care what you do to get them out, then you can take whatever you get out of it and put into a new item that could possibly become a bestseller. R, reward for performance. This has to do with pay for performance and various commission systems. If you want to achieve something sales or gross margin-wise, you should incentivize it. A couple examples. You can incentivize a higher gross margin sale, where if somebody sells at a higher commission rate, a higher gross margin rate, you pay a higher commission rate. Or you might want to incentivize reward performance for high sales volume. A great approach that I like is where you set a goal based on a certain volume amount, and you have a dollar amount associated with that and split it amongst your team when you achieve it. Okay, T, target market your audience. If you've been in business for a while, you've grown a large database. To send the same message to that entire database every time will produce limiting results. You should segment and target your audience either by recency of purchase, monetary value, zip code, frequency of purchase, and a whole host of other ways. But that will allow you to send specific messages to them and get you a bigger impact on your message. And we have tools in Profit that can help you with that. Past purchase follow-up is one, and another one is our e-marketing system can help you electronically do that. Do you want to improve something in your business? Of course. Well then, your first step is really to establish an improvement metric and then to track that metric. The act of tracking really ultimately leads to the improvement itself. The best businesses use KPIs or key performance indicators to measure performance. And here are some examples. If you want to improve sales, for instance, imagine that. Well, then you should have some key performance indicators that actually, as they are improved, the top line totally improves. And examples are average sale, close rate, house calls, warranty close, feedback percentage. If those things are important to you to increase total sales, you should have a KPI established around them, and they should be tracked, I would suggest, weekly, monthly, quarterly. Inventory. If you want to improve your inventory efficiency, well, you should look at some metrics that can help you with that. I mentioned GMROI. That's a no-brainer. Another popular one is inventory to sales. If you track that metric and establish a comfort zone of where your inventory level needs to be as a % of sales, then you will find yourself with more cash flow over time. Okay? And it will help you with your open to buy for new merchandise. Other examples, I can name 10 of them, but another one might be bestseller in stock %. If you say, well, I want to hit 95% and you're at 80, well, you better track your bestseller in stock % so you can grow more towards where you want to be. An example for cash flow. Cash is pretty important, right? Well, if it is, you better track a metric based on it. An example would be a quick ratio. It's basically a measure of liquidity that compares your cash against your current liabilities. Very easy to run all these numbers. Once you have your desired KPIs established, the best companies out there take this next step. They set minimum performance standards on their KPIs. A minimum performance standard acts as a bar that it's expected for the business and those working in to achieve. Okay? For example, suppose you believe that if you increased house calls, your sales would go up. Well, if that's an important KPI that you're tracking, maybe you want to set a minimum performance standard on it. One example that several of our clients use is they say a salesperson must achieve 2 house call sales per month per salesperson. Why would a business ever do this? Well, they realize that the house call produces them a much greater average sale with a much higher close rate, and it tells the sales staff very strongly that this is an important thing that we need to achieve month in, month out, or I better look for a job somewhere else. Other examples, warranty close rate. I just threw out this number 50%. Some stores would have higher, some would be lower. But whatever it is, if closing a certain number of warranties are important to you, you should establish a minimum performance standard for your sales staff to achieve. And in any of this, by the way, you can't just put the number out there. People need to be trained properly and know how to find the metrics to see where they're at. An inventory-related example that you might assign to a head buyer. You might say to them, we need our best seller in stock days at 95% at all times. If I visited 10 operations, I bet 2 would have decent management reporting. If I visited 10 businesses that I consider best of breed, I bet 9 or all 10 would have decent management reporting. And what are the management reports of a business? Ultimately, at the top, it is their financial statements. Good businesses have rock-solid, accurate, and timely management reporting. It helps them avoid guessing. If there is a sudden change in a certain position, whether it be sales, profit, costs, or cash, good business managers know sooner. They can take faster actions and thus correct their course. Here are some components, or here are the components. Profit and loss. Most business managers are familiar with this one, and they use this one for the most part. Okay? Profit and loss is an evaluation of your business each month and year to date. It resets itself each year and has a new life. Okay? There's ratios on there that you can use on your profit and loss, like gross margin, expense ratios like advertising, sales, admin, warehousing, and net income, of course. Okay, the thing with profit and loss is that some people look at it and they only look at that. And they don't realize if it's right or not. So it's a hugely important performance report if it's right. Okay, that's where the next report comes in, the balance sheet. There's only 2 pockets with financial reporting. It's a profit and loss and a balance sheet. If it's not on one, it's on the other. So the balance sheet can be used as a tool to make sure profit and loss is correct. And it's simple. You look down the balance sheet and you say, is this number right? If the answer is yes for all numbers, then the profit and loss is correct. If there's one thing that's unsupported, then guess what? There's probably something wrong on the P&L. More than that, though, the balance sheet also helps you evaluate the strength of your business. Okay? It's your assets minus your liabilities. And what's left is your profit from the, or your equity from the years that your business has been operated. The balance sheet is an ongoing document that never closes. And then there's a combination of the two documents, the cash flow statement. Cash is king, right? Well, if cash is king, why don't the majority of people out there use a cash flow statement? Well, I'll tell you, a best practice is to look at the cash flow statement, because what it does is it tells you why you are adding to or taking away from cash. If you net everything else out, cash is what is left over. Basically, your profit plus or minus any increases or decreases in assets or liabilities, with the main ones being inventory and debt. It is critical that your business has budgets, targets, and goals. A budget is a plan, and having a plan gives you a much greater chance of achieving success. Here are some areas top managers focus their budgets on. It allows them to steer their ship to grow profitability. Sales. Well, you should overall have a clear picture of what sales volume your business needs to achieve. And that is your plan. So you compare your sales to plan or sales to budget. You should look at it each month and as the year progresses. Expressed as a percentage, if your sales to plan is above 100%, then you're happy. If it's below 100%, well then you have to take action to gain what's necessary to get you above 100%. Otherwise, you'll end up having to cut costs, and that's not as fun as growing sales. Costs. You should have budgets based on your fixed costs. Okay, so how much are you going to spend on training? How much are you going to spend on advertising? How much are you going to spend on rent, on your administration department? You should have these capped at certain numbers so that you can monitor them on a monthly and year-to-date basis. Okay, inventory. It's a huge one to have a budget on. An inventory budget, in my opinion, in this industry, should be based on your sales volume. So if you did $5 million, and you might say that 15% of that $5 million at any one time is where I want my inventory to be, and it could be plus or minus a percent. Okay? Debt to equity financing. It's also important to have a feel of where and a target of where you want payables and debt to be. Okay? And of course, cash flow. The name of the game, in my opinion, is to grow cash. So you should set a target on where your cash flow needs to be at the end of the year, and really all the other budgets that I mentioned flow into that cash flow. If you hit your sales, if you hit your costs, if you hit your inventory levels, that will all flow into hitting your cash flow target. If you can only take one thing away from this webinar, take this. Top performing businesses are top performing businesses because they embrace never-ending improvement. The fact that you're on this webinar really shows that you're one of these business people. There are many other sources that are available to help you improve. They consist of associations like the NAHFA. Wayne and I are actually speaking at their annual industry convention in Phoenix, June 1 to 3. This is totally educational focused. So if you're interested in going, you should contact the NAHFA on that to attend. There's buying groups like Furniture First and Brand Source. They're a great way to make industry contacts. Of course, there are peer performance groups like our own profit groups. They function as your personal board of directors. We have 3 groups now that meet twice a year. Some members, in fact, have been involved for over 10 years. We have 1 or 2 slots open for application. Our next meeting is in Alaska, July 20 to 23. And as many of you know, Wayne and I have been providing professional consulting services to the industry. We specialize in improving profitability and cash flow. Just let us know if you wish our help in this. One final best practice that I wanted to add was the importance of execution in the pursuit of excellence. Six Sigma is a methodology used to decrease operational errors and improve business quality. Here is an acronym that can help guide you through your improvement process. It's DMAIC. Okay, define the nature of the problem, that's phase 1. Measure existing performance and commence recording data and facts that provide information about underlying causes of the problem. Analyze the information to determine the root causes of the problem or challenge. Improve the process by effecting solutions to the issue. And finally, control the process until the solution becomes ingrained. And then, in fact, there's always something else to improve. So in other words, focus on one thing at a time, seek to improve it, control it, and then focus on something else. All right, before I take your questions today, I mentioned that I had a special offer. I am offering a complimentary business needs assessment. I will send you an email after this webinar and invite you to book a conversation with me to discuss your business challenges and opportunities. I will give you some ideas to help you focus on what to improve on first. Okay, now for your questions. So there should be a question bar on the right-hand side of your control center. So I'm going to scroll through and pick a couple questions. Okay, here's the first one. Here we go. Can you share information on the best pay plans for sales associates? Okay, well, I've seen a lot of different pay plans out there. One of the best ones, I believe, is a variable sliding commission that's based on the gross margin percent. And it would be in a range. Perhaps you set gross margin from at a high of 55 to a low of whatever, 45 or even lower. Then you'd have a commission rate that is associated with that. It might be a high of 8, it might be a low of 3. But what it does is it cuts out the asking for the discount to the sales manager. It gets salespeople selling and focused more on the product and less on the price. That, in combination with a total team bonus on volume, are my favorite ways. Every organization is a little different, but that's my preferred method. Next, of course, can we get a copy of the webinar? Yes, I will send you all a copy. Next, did you say that inventory dollars values should be 15% of sales? Is 21% way too high? Well, that's a good question. That I also get quite often. Inventory to sales, I did say 15%, but that was an example. Okay, inventory to sales, it has to be right for your individual business. Okay, so everybody's a little different. A mattress company or an Ashley store can operate with as little as 6 to 8% commission. A full-line furniture store usually runs between 14 and 17%. If you have contemporary products that cost a lot more, I've seen operations be very successful around 20, 21%. So we would have to talk more about your merchandising mix, and we also have to consider your sales per square foot and a few other things. But I'll say one thing: I've rarely seen a successful operation run at above 25% with decent cash flow. See if we have any other questions today. All right, I think I have one more question, and here it is. Okay, is there any silver bullets then to increase sales? Well, my belief that there's really no silver bullets, but there's more of a silver rocket launcher, and that's CRM. Okay, as I mentioned at the beginning of the sale, I say if you don't have a properly functioning CRM system, then you're missing some of the elements that it takes to increase and maximize your sales. Okay, as I mentioned, I will contact each of you. Oh, there's one other question. Will you be having some other upcoming webinars on specific areas like e-marketing and auto-identifying old merchandise, etc.? Absolutely. Per my available time, as you all know, I spend a lot of my time on the road. I will be scheduling other webinars and throughout the year, so keep on a lookout for those. Great. So thank you all for attending today's webinar, and hopefully we can get together and have a chat about your business.